Hey, welcome to the Serving Second podcast, where we celebrate unsung heroes of leadership. Today, I'm excited. I'm with my brother and my friend, Dr. Vandeon Griffin. He has a privilege of serving in leadership in a number of capacities. And so today, we're just going to dive into a conversation that he and I have probably had a number of times. I just want to put it out there for a number of people to share in what the wisdom that Vandeon has for us. So, Dr. Griffin, thank you so much for joining us today.
Man, glad to be here, my brother.
Man, this is special because, we've started this journey on serving second, where we talk about individuals that are assistants, associates, vice presidents of all different types of organizations. And today, man, you have just given me a whole lot of wisdom. I want to share just that journey, that conversation with those who are on the thread today. So help us out today. Just tell us your journey in this concept of serving second. What is your current role at this point?
Yes, so thank you for having me on. Glad to be here and to connect with you and this amazing and august audience that you're building. Man, I serve currently at the headquarters for the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in North America, and I serve as an associate youth director for the North American division. So that's what I'm doing currently.
Now, for some people that are not a part of this context, know what area, when you talk about North American division, that means the entire, literally the entire United States of America.
Yeah, so we're literally talking about all of North America, all the states in the U.S., and also Canada, the church in Canada. Also, we have the church in Bermuda, and then we also have the Guam, Micronesia area. All of that serves as a territory for the North American division of Seventh-day Adventist. So I have the privilege to serve all of these people groups and all of these areas as a youth ministry professional.
Now, when we were working together, you were the lead youth director here in South Central, and that's comprised of Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and the northwest part of Florida. Now you have this larger responsibility, and you shifted from being what we identify as from a first chair individual, where you're the one pretty much leading the department, to a second chair, where you're now an associate or an assistant in your particular department. How was that adjustment or that shift going from, hey, I'm leading, now I'm working with a team?
Yeah, so to be correct, I am an associate for the department. And man, it was an amazing shift for me personally. And I think context is everything. Leading in a local conference territory, which was amazing and phenomenal. I had 10 years of that where I had an associate that worked with me, and I never saw that person as someone that was subservient to who I was. We were a team. Somebody has to take the lead. That's the bottom line. And I was designated to be the one to take the lead in that role in the Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky area. And I want to say that while I had that role, I also served for 10 years while doing the ministry of youth. I served as a local pastor in about 13 different churches. And two of those churches where I landed for an extended period of time, I had an associate to work with me in that capacity. So I had kind of gotten used to what it's like to not work solo, but to work in tandem. And for me, that opened my eyes personally to a whole other level of ministry and leadership, to be exact. And it's probably one of the reasons why I decided to go in the area of organizational leadership for my postgraduate studies, because I saw what could actually happen when you work as a team as opposed to working solo. And so when the responsibility was offered to me, to be totally honest, and some people have heard this story before, it was around this time of year, to be exact. I was at a huge gathering of pastors there in Huntsville, Alabama, and the current president now of the North American Division was serving as executive secretary. And he simply tapped me and said, "I need to talk to you." And I said, "Oh, okay, what's up?" I mean, just flippant. I mean, because we've never had any real interactions, and I knew who he was, he knew who I was, but he said, "No, outside." And so we step outside, and he makes this pitch to me to come and serve at the headquarters of the church. And my immediate response was, "No, I'm not your man." And it wasn't because of the role and function. It was just because I have a hard time moving, period. And that's always been my challenge, period. And it wasn't until recent that I realized what that was all about, being moved when I didn't want to move as a kid. I've never
Mm.
let that go. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's kind of like a context that I really want to make sure that I surround the move from serving at a local conference context to the headquarters. I was pretty excited once I decided that this was a good move for me and my family. So initially, I turned it down, and then I had a conversation, which I was challenged to do by the executive secretary, who is now president. Says, "Oh, before you do all of that, talk to your wife." And then make a decision. And so I called my wife on the spot and shared with her what was being offered. And I told her that I said no. And she's like, "My brother, no, 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 no. The answer to that is yes." That was my prayer. My wife's prayer is, "God, if you want this to happen, then you set it up where I know that this is what she is supposed to do." And so when I shared that with my wife, that I was being extended this call, she's like, "This is an answer to prayer. You are taking the call." And so that's kind of how that happened. And so I came to serve as an associate director.
So let me this, and I really like the way you said that. You kind of what you once you and your family identified this is a move where we believe this is God led. This is something beyond us. That made a difference in how you approach this position. And I
Absolutely.
think that's appropriate. I mean, it's important for individuals that find themselves serving in a second chair role. Not that you're secondary to anyone else, but this role is a assistant to a leadership role, and to be settled in that. I'm hearing you say, I know regardless of what's happening, this is where God is leading my family and I.
Absolutely. So, it made, as a matter of fact, it made the call even more exciting at that point, because as I stated, I don't like moving. I mean,
Mhm.
I just don't, you know what I'm saying? I will move, but it's not something that I'm like signing up to do. I definitely don't try to choreograph it myself. You know what I'm saying? I want to know that it's a God move, and whatever that move is, and whatever it is that I'm supposed to be doing, I really don't care, how other people see it. You know what I'm saying? As long as I know I'm actually in God's will.
But
And,
Van, so let me ask you this. I want you to speak to the person who is they're in a place where they're in God's will. They feel like they're there. Did you know the individuals that you were going to be working with, or when you got there, so talk to me. You get there in this new situation, you believe that this is God leading, but now you're dealing with individuals who you've never worked with or maybe have met before. I'm not necessarily sure. Talk to us about that first encounter with this new team.
man, I tell you, the lead director in our office, he and I both served as local conference directors in youth ministries. And so we were in the same room for meetings that happened at the North American division. Those called meetings that they have, you're talking about 59 different directors all in one space. So we never had any real interaction, but we would be in the same room. And then the other individual had never served as a lead director. He was on an associate, and he only had been an associate for a short period, and he was actually called to serve at the North American division. I think it's apropos to say this, that all three of us were not the first choices to serve where we're serving now. Matter of fact, the lead director now came as an associate, and then the lead director who was serving prior to stepped down, and that's when he became the lead director. Yeah, so I mean, showing up there, I was pretty excited because of the context from which I was coming from. In other words, I had the privilege of having an associate director who was phenomenal. His name is Pastor Wayne Hewlett, is my dude to this day, and he and I had worked together very closely. And we didn't see any levels of who's in charge and who's not in charge. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion that they've asked me to be the lead, but how I led allowed us to both work together in harmony. And then the experience that I had in a local church where I had two associates to work with me in two different contexts, it said to me this, and a lot of people don't understand it, but this is what it said to me. It said, Man, 2 is always better than 1. And if you can share the load, especially if you're working with people who have vision and who have passion, who are not like helicopters, you know what I'm saying? They allow you to use your God-given gifts and talents to actually help bolster whatever that vision that is being cast. You know, I had the time of my life, man. One of my friends, close friends, his name is Pastor Java Madison. He was like a road dog for me in the local church. I mean, and we would be like tit for tat on a regular basis in our church setting. And so when I got the opportunity to come to the North American division to serve as an associate youth director, my first encounter with these guys was, what's the plan? I'm on the team. Tell me what my role and function is, and tell me what my budget is, and let me fly. Can we operate like that? And that was the heart to heart kind of conversation that I had with them. And that's, I think, part of, what my wife says is that I'm very quite sanguine, which is true, but I'm also just as much as I am sanguine, I'm choleric and I like to get stuff done. And I kind of have a, let's get it done. And so I talk real direct.
One of the things I want to extrapolate from what you shared earlier is going into this new position because you've had the unique privilege of being able to serve as a lead director, and whether it be in church, whether it be in your youth department, that gave you a little bit more of an ease or an approach to navigate this new assignment. Even though the expanse was a lot larger, the territory was a lot larger, that was able to help you navigate this one.
Absolutely. And then having the hard conversation day one. I just knew that if I didn't have that hard conversation day one, it would not be a good fit for
Now,
me.
hold on. What do you mean by hard conversation? And identify what the hard conversation was, and why was it necessary for you to have it on day one?
Yeah, so if you're gonna go in as an associate, or if you're serving currently as an associate, there's a reason why you're there. And it's primarily because the person who is the lead can't do the job by themselves. And so because they can't do the job by themselves, somebody in the organization, or maybe that person, has seen fit that I need support. Correct? So then if you need that support, then that support that you're looking for should be clearly defined to the person who's actually going to give you the support. And not only should that be clearly defined, you actually have to give that person the latitude to actually fulfill the role that you need support in. In other words, you can't say you need support, but then you're micromanaging the kind of support that you need. Those, they just don't go together. And real leadership says, not only do I need support, I'm going to actually allow you to lead in the capacity that I ask you to lead with, and I'm not going to try to micromanage that at the same time. I believe that there is this dynamic that has to have to come together and coalesce together that says we're moving in this direction, and every energy that you can bring to move us to that direction, I actually want it. That's what great
Hmm.
leadership, it says I want it. I'm not trying to say, okay, so why did you go ahead of me? You know, because it's not about going ahead of you. It's actually getting the job done and figuring out where you're trying to go before you actually get there. That's the kind of support that I want to be able to give to my lead. And so I had that hard conversation. What is my role and function? Tell me that clearly. And then I want you to put it in writing. We can talk about this, but a lot of stuff gets lost in translation by conversation.
Mm.
In other words, I said this, but here's what I really meant. You understand what I'm saying? And so for me, I just don't jive well like that. That's my choleric side. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have a good time, but I can't have a really good time if I don't know exactly what it is that I've been called to do. Right?
All right. So pause right there. But because again, listen, you've given us great nuggets. First of all, clarify what my role is, and let's put it in writing.
Put it in writing.
So
Absolutely.
we
And then,
so we go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. No, no, I said, and once we put it in writing, then the two of us are going to agree on what it is that we put in writing. Right?
All right.
So it's not just a matter of, okay, I'm asking him to do this, that, and the third, and I'm gonna give it to him, and we move on. Nope. Once for me, and because this was huge for me. I mean, I'm actually making a move from what is super comfortable for me, where I was, my wife had a decent job, and we were going to send our kid away to the boarding academy regardless. And so
Hmm.
we were not trying to upset our lives just for this responsibility. But, we felt God saying, this is an answer to a prayer that my wife had been praying. I didn't know anything about. And I trust the spirituality of my wife. And so, in other words, I'm saying, okay, now that I'm here, my wife is wanting me to be just as fulfilled as she is being fulfilled because God has answered her prayers. And so she knows that I'm going to have that heart to heart conversation. And if things go left, well, she hadn't quite picked up and moved yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we had that heart to heart conversation, put it in writing. I wanted to know what was my budget. And then I wanted to know how much freedom do I have to do the responsibilities that you have outlined on paper. Once I got that clarity, I was off to the races. And as I moved, you know, how do I say this? Culturally, I move a little different than some people. Okay. I think that's the best way I can say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my executive secretary at the time, who's now the division president, he said it on the front end. He's like, the context from which you're coming from, where you're used to doing everything and moving an agenda forward quite aggressively, I know that's what's going to happen when you get to the North American division. Just understand that you have a team that you're working with as well. And so do what you can to bring them along with you. So that's why I needed to have that heart to heart conversation so that I know that number one, I'm not in their lane, I'm in my lane. And in my lane, I just can't allow complacency to be the song of the day. You know what I'm
Man,
saying?
listen, yeah, I am, even though I know the story, I am just now in this process of, teaching and leading other individuals that are serving second. I think, man, what you're sharing is rich. Number one, because I don't know if it got cut off when we started earlier. You said you had clarity for your family and for God that this is where you need to be. And then
Absolutely.
the next thing you said is identifying that, hey, we need to have some difficult conversations. What is my role? Put it down on paper. Now, what is my budget? How am I going to execute this budget? And then let me fly.
Let me fly. And one of the things that, once you start flying, and anybody who is watching this and knows me, they know how I move. Those who don't,
Well,
I will
let
tell
me
you.
just let me say this because I don't want to assume, because again, as we've known each other for a long time, the people that come in for seeing this guy, like, who is this guy? Listen, I want, and this is for everybody who's watching that is individual that serves second. Like, it does not, you are in that position. I think Van mentioned this earlier. You're in that position because you're highly skilled, because you're gifted in a particular area, and your individual that you're working with identifies that you are needed, that their work that is beyond them, and they need you. So you're coming into the situation with specific skill set, with specific gifts, with specific talents that are needed for your organization. And I just want to affirm you, Van, because you've done a phenomenal job. And those who are watching, because you are here because you have gifts and skills. And it's special because once you hone those skills, you can just fly.
Yeah,
Let me ask
absolutely.
you, Van, let me ask you this. What is one of the greatest joys that you've had as now if you mentioned that you've led, what is one of the greatest joys in your area of serving or your supporting leadership role?
What's one of the say it again?
Greatest joys.
Oh, greatest joys is I don't have the headache of being the lead.
Listen, Van, you are
I'm not gonna I'm not going to lie to you, man. There's some things that I mean, and unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know how you want to dub it, but I mean, it's the same pay and I have less headache. I mean, you can miss me on everything else. So,
man, listen,
and
that is
even if it's $100 difference versus actually being able to be home and be with my family, I'm good with it. Yeah, I'm good with it.
man, like, don't y'all don't miss what he is saying. Like, and this is one of the things. In fact, I was going to put this on one of my upcoming episodes. But what you're saying, I'm just going to unpack this because I think we can ride this out for the next, 45 minutes. But just the idea of there's a different level of responsibility when you're serving as an associate. And what I'm
Mhm.
hearing you say is that is a relief in some areas.
Man, it's to be celebrated. It's not, I think too often we don't frame the responsibilities that God has entrusted us with in the right light. I have not been um downgraded at all. As a matter of
Mhm.
fact, and, I mean this with as much humility as I can muster here. I cannot fulfill the responsibilities that are coming my way from the people in terms of speaking, doing leadership training, leadership development, building curriculum, resources. My plate, or let me say that my cup overfloweth. It runneth over. And there are so many things that God has like given me the privilege to do. You know, I, I don't know if there would be a vast difference between me being in that first chair or in where I'm sitting right now. And here's one of the things that really makes it work for me in my context. Okay, one of the things that was happening quite rapidly when I first got there was number one, I'm the new kid on the block. Everybody wants to get a chance to know me. I'm being invited here, doing a lot of different things in the office. I mean, part of it is just he's the new guy. His personality seems to be quite jovial. You know me, having a good time, doesn't meet any strangers. And so the calls were like amplified a lot for me. And some of the things that, my lead and the other associate would ask, hey man, we know you're moving fast. Um, can we do this, that, and the third? And can we get this done? I was like, absolutely. Hey guys, listen, we're one team. We're not three different teams. We're one team. And they'll act something else the next week. And this, guys, hear me on this. I'm there. When do you want to meet? Because I'm literally, I'm moving. I'm fast tracking a lot of different things, but also, the other two guys are saying, while on others that are calling, don't pass us by. And so I would remind them on a regular basis. Hear me on this. We're one team. We're one team. Until one day, the lead director walks into my office, closes the door, and he says, there is something to what you're saying to us on a regular basis. And what I keep hearing you say is, there are no big I's, there are no little U's. The ground is actually level at the foot of the cross. We are one team. And I love that so much coming from you that I would like for us to adopt that in our office as our mantra. He says, and with your permission, I'd like to actually take it to our union youth directors. Those are the 9 different people who serve around the North American Division territory. And I want to start using that language with them. It became so popular until everything that we do now is known as one team, right? And that is because, first of all, I am overtly secure in who it is that God has called me to be, right? And because of that, not arrogant, just confident in what little skill sets that I have. Ain't the smartest one in the book, but I can actually get some stuff done through the power of the Holy Spirit. And I'm comfortable with me and my gifts, right? I don't see it as a slight. I had the privilege to say no. But if God says do this, why not? And so
Man,
we're known as one team around our building, and it has like caught fire around the division. Everything that we have, I'm surprised I don't have it on tonight. We wear hoodies and t-shirts and Oxfords. It all says one team. We have a car that we had in the parade. It has one team on the front of it. We believe that in order to really move an agenda aggressively down the road, to get the ball across the goal line, you got to see yourself as one team, even though you have separate roles and functions. But I am here to support the lead. And if the lead will allow me to do that with the gifting that God has given me, we're going to have a good time getting it done.
man, this is rich because you've kind of shared the idea of what started as your team of 3, the guys that you're working with, individuals you're working with, that went just kind of knowing the journey that you guys took and how it's literally been a mantra for across the division. You know, that's Canada, United States, Guam, all the different areas. That idea of one team, but it started with you being secure who God had called you to be. Next step was identifying, hey, listen, we're clear on what roles we have, the budgets that I need to have, the skill set I have. You also identified, hey, listen, I don't need to have a big ego. I have a less stress because I'm doing this. But when you are able to really lock into your position, man, I'm just hearing just an explosion of synergy that kind of took place for your for your role of youth directors in North America for the people you serve with.
Yeah, and let me say something. We were taking a long trip, literally to Guam,
Mercy. Who was
and
we?
me and the
Your team? Okay.
two other directors. We were taking a long trip. This is early on, and I'm a very personable person, especially if we're going to be in close quarters working as a team. I mean, if you're solo, then this doesn't matter. And I did this same approach when I was a conference director, and I had Pastor Hewlett as my associate. I had Toyin Madison as my
Hmm.
secretary. My wife, this is public knowledge. My wife would call Toyin my office wife, because that's how tight we were. Wayne was like my brother, and we had to have those kind of close quarter relationships so that we can actually get stuff done. Not so that we can just be in each other's business, but so I can understand why Toyin responds the way she does, why Wayne responds the way he does, especially when it comes to us getting into the trenches of something that's hard, or when
So
it's time
wait,
for
wait,
hard conversations. Go ahead.
man, listen, you're dropping gems here. What you're saying is this is more than just getting a job done. You know, and I know people talk about work wife and all those things are different people that you work, and I know the way you do relationships. But what I'm hearing you say is this is deeper than just clocking in. I gotta know you as a holistic person. I gotta be aware of who you are as a person so that when we do have those difficult moments, then we can address those and it's not me coming at you, but it's me now knowing who you are, knowing that I care for you, so that when we do get those challenging times, it's not me coming at you, but it's me saying I want us to grow together.
Yeah, leadership is not about how well you lead. It's about how well are you trusted, right?
No, no, don't walk away from that. Say it one more time, please.
Leadership is not how well you lead, it's how well are you trusted by the people you lead, right? And
Mm,
so what I'm saying to you is as we were flying and having this time of sharing, we're talking about, vision and what's on the calendar and how we're going to get this done, and it said to me, if we're going to go here and if I'm going to have any longevity with these other two leaders in close quarters. I mean, we're in a plane for, 8 hours at a time just for one leg,
wow. Yeah.
and we haven't even made it to our destination, let alone returned. There are certain things that for me as a leader says, take the lead on having this conversation, right? We land in Guam one night, true story. And I can't believe I'm telling this publicly, but true story. We land and we have hotels in Guam. And if you've never been to Guam, Guam is super expensive. It's U.S. territory, but it is super expensive. And we go to the Days Inn, we go into our room, and we realize, as expensive as this hotel is, it's a dump. We can't stay here. Like you don't even want to take your jacket off in the hotel. That's how bad it was. And so we decided to cancel our reservations and we're looking for a hotel. And the Lord, that's what I need you to hear. The Lord set it up where there was only one hotel room available in the city that was really nice. And we all had to end up sharing that hotel. Double beds, got a cot. But now these are three strangers in the same space.
Yeah, this is more than just work.
I'm going somewhere with this because here's what I tell to all of my youth directors and coordinators when I do leadership training. Part of what we fail to do as leaders with other leaders, because they're just as gifted and called to lead as well, part of what we fail at doing is doing life with them,
Mm.
right? And you only do life with people that you really care about. If I only see you as, man, get this document out for me, make sure all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, we're pretty much not going to have a really good working relationship. We'll get along, but what God can really do, we won't really get a chance to experience that. And
Mm.
for 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 the first time that in that moment, we did life together. We had to stay in the same room together. And I had never done that before with them. You understand what I'm saying? You know, you and I have shared a hotel room. I want everyone to know that. I'll leave it at that. You know, I mean, you know, we've done those kind of things, but this is a whole new group. I mean, you know,
Mhm.
got a Hispanic and a Caucasian and an African American. You know what I'm saying? But we did life. And on the way back, I said to them, those guys, if in fact we're going to actually be what God has called us to be, I need you all to be in my home 2 weeks from now. Man,
Mm.
what are you talking about? I said, I want you to come to my house because what we got going on at the office is one thing. What will happen in my house will be a whole nother thing. And we'll discover what it is that God really wants to see happen in our lives. They bought in. They came to my house. You know, I called my wife before we got back to the States, and I said, "Hey, honey, I've invited the entire team and their families to come
Mhm.
for dinner." And she's like, "All right." Let me tell you something. They came in our home, ate food from an African American lady, and you know, I ain't ashamed to say my wife can lay it down. You know what I'm saying? She laid it down. From that moment, both of those guys said, "All right, you coming to my house next. You're coming to my house next."
Mm.
Point on, we have been what we call one team, and so we have threads. The three of us, we have a one team thread, and then we have a
Mhm.
thread with all of our family members, and it's the one team family thread. You know, we decided that we're going to not just work together, but we're going to do life together. You know, when I lost my father, my team was there.
Yeah.
When one of my lead director lost his father, our team was there. We do life graduations, they're there. We do life together so that when it's time to have the difficult conversations, and we have had some really difficult, tear jerking conversations, but because we know each other, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't diminish who I am as an associate. I'm not looked down. There's no condescending here. You know what I'm saying? We've learned how to respect each other's roles and functions, stay in our lanes. If somebody asks me to do something that is not a part of my portfolio, I respond immediately, you need to talk with such and such. You know,
Mm.
that's his role, that's his function, and you want to start with him. You know, now if he pushes you back to me, then I've got a choice to make. Do I want to do that? You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have to,
Mhm.
it's not a part of my role and function. And then there are times where I'm asked to do something on behalf of my lead director that's not a part of my role and function, but he's my lead. And why would I not support him? And I do the same thing for him, you know? So
Yeah.
that's how we've learned to operate, man. It's been a great journey. It's not been pleasant at all the time, but it's been a great journey and something that we can appreciate. And I'll tell you this, man, I'm being vulnerable here. Just
Mhm.
you know, I had the privilege of actually coming back to serve in a regional conference. And one of the challenges that we were having was, man, we don't want you to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
That
I mean, for
that
me,
bond.
I say that's a challenge, not necessarily a challenge, but one of the things that was just, you know, was very clear to me was that I had a team that was not putting their hands together saying, man, we're so glad he's leaving. We want him to stay. And when you understand your role and function, you're clear on the that God has given you. You know what I'm saying? You've got clarity from your lead. You have open communication, you know, doing life together with each other. You know, those kind of, I mean, we celebrate everything. You know, we celebrate everything. And then when it's time to have difficult conversations, we're able to have those difficult conversations.
Man, this is rich, and I think it's so special because, I was thinking we were going to go one direction, but you kind of really hit the nail on the head of, as an associate, you didn't, it wasn't your leader saying, your direct lead saying, hey, we're going to do this. No, you were able to implement this. You were able to bring this on, and it literally transformed the way, not just the organization, but as an individual, your team makes a difference. And I've had the opportunity to see the three of you guys work together. It's phenomenal just to see it. It's not just a working relationship, or it can't just be a working relationship. This is something that is, we're doing life together, and that makes it so much easier. Man, listen, what is, you said a lot. What, you're talking to somebody who's serving second. They're hearing this. What is one final parting gem that you want to share with somebody who is sitting in an associate assistant or a vice type of role?
I want to say to you very clearly, and I want you to lean in when I say this. If you are serving or you have the privilege, and I think you need to hear that, you have the privilege to serve, period. I want you to take that seriously, first of all. That is not a downgrade, that is not a diminishing role or function. And I want to say to that person, as Ben Lundquist said to me and a whole group of leaders, and I hold this dear to my heart, crush the assignment in front of you. If you're going to be all that God has called you to be, just because you're in the second chair doesn't mean you're not the lead of the second chair. I mean,
That's it.
don't be in the
That's it.
second chair and be lousy. You know, you're in the second chair to lead, and lead that well, and crush the assignment in front of you. I mean, do it with excellence. Everything that I try to do, everything I put my hand to do, I'm always trying to see how can I do this thing where it literally blows my mind and the mind of the people I get a chance to serve. And there are some roles and functions and assignments that I have been given because I've learned how to crush the assignment in front of me. I mean, I don't know how many times people have called me the director for youth ministries for the North American division, and I have to correct them. No, I'm the associate, and I'm good
Yeah.
with it. Oh man, we thought you were the director. When you crush the assignment, your gifts, the Bible is true. Your gifts will make room for you, right? But for many of us, honestly, man, and I don't care if it's if you in a Fortune 500 company. I don't care if you're at Walmart. I don't care if you're at McDonald's or you're in a local church and you're number two, or you're in a religious setting, you're number two. That is not a mediocre assignment. Crush that thing. Do it with excellence. I mean, don't leave any question marks. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as I say, pull your pants above your belly button and get it done. And get it done with excitement, like with passion. And man, I'm excited that I have the gift to do this. You know what I'm saying? Because here's what I realized, even as an associate, when I was almost considering taking another assignment, there were so many people lined up to be an associate.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in the role and function that God has gifted you to serve, you leave, there are people lined up to be in that particular responsibility. So it's not something that should be taken lightly. To any of you who are listening right now, what God has gifted you with, crush that thing. I mean, do it at a high level with high energy. Hold your head up, stick your chest out. I mean, go hard in the paint. I mean, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? And there are times, man, where I don't feel like it. I think we need to keep that 100.
Hmm.
Let's keep it a band. And I have a village called Kim and Kaylin. Hallelujah. You know what I'm saying? And those chicks, man, they know how to they can gaslight. No, seriously, they can pump a boy up, man, and be like, "Yo, boy, get your head in the game. Go get it done." You know what I'm saying? Because there are down times. Let's keep it one band. There are down times, and you're saying to yourself, "Man, am I really making a difference?" You know what I'm saying? And I felt
Mm.
like that not long ago, and I was able, because I've done life with my team. I was able to share that. Like, I don't know if I need to keep going. I don't know if I need to remain where I am, and just being able to share that without judgment. You know what I'm saying? And you
Mm,
get there with people that you don't trust. If you don't trust your lead, you're not going to be vulnerable to the point where you can say exactly what's on your heart. You know what I'm saying? Because you're always wondering, okay, are they going to take what I'm sharing and use it against me at some point? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. It's not about, as a leaders, it's not about how well you lead, it's how well are you trusted as a leader. And I unequivocally trust, the team that I'm privileged to work with. And so I want to say to those persons right now, crush the assignment in front of you. Go for it. Go hard.
family, you've heard it here. Dr. Vandeon Griffin, the Associate Youth Director of the North American Division. He is my friend, my brother. He is a gift. He is a valuable resource. Thank you so much, Van, for joining us on the Serving Second podcast, where we teach individuals how to get first place outcomes from second place finishes. Thank you for joining us. God bless, and we'll talk to you later.